So, welcome back, everyone. It's been a good long while since me and Scott really kind of sat down and had a conversation, especially on a podcast. So, um, welcome back. I think we're going to start trying to record them a bit more regularly again. How you doing, Scott?
I'm very well. Thank you very much for having me. It's been a while, as you said. It's been good to be back, and looking forward to an interesting chat about relationships.
Yes, healthy relationships. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Um, the main reason I kind of brought up as a topic really is because it came up recently in some of the work that I do for Spiral. It was in a one-to-one, well, a while ago really now. Um, and healthy. The topic of healthy relationships came up kind of in the kind of topic of school, um, and just kind of lack of knowledge really is what I found that they kind of this young person had around healthy relationships. So I thought it would be a good topic to talk about because I mean it's something that I don't remember ever being taught about what is a healthy relationship, what isn't a healthy relationship, and things like that. It's not something I really learned until I started working for Spiral, so I figured it's quite a useful thing to learn and know. So that's why I brought it here today.
Yeah, it sounds like a very good topic. I mean, I think we're both quite similar in that. And I know when I was at school, that the concept of what would be a healthy relationship probably wasn't even conceived that then. Certainly at school. But I think, as you said, it's really important because I think it's important to understand why we have friendships and what's important about them, and when that friendship can be not as positive. So yeah, I think it's a great topic to kick off with myself. Come back.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so like the first thing that I really learned about healthy relationships is, you see, when I was a kid, I never really did anything extra in my friendships or relationships other than we just hung out a lot. And now I'm kind of learning a little bit more about it. Right? It's kind of there is a little bit more to relationships and friendships that you kind of need to do to actually make sure that they're healthy relationships. Um, One of those main things being boundaries, right? Like setting boundaries in a relationship is really important. And as a kid, that is something I would have literally never, ever, 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 ever had a discussion with my boys about boundaries. Never. Not once. Never did, never even thought about it. And they are quite important.
I'll jump in there. I mean, absolutely agree with yourself, and I think probably as you get a little bit older, you realise that boundaries are important. And I think at the time, if someone doesn't make you aware of that, then maybe you're not aware of the rights and wrongs and things you can do in a relationship. And I think what's important is that relationships are kind of a two-way process.
Yeah.
And I think the most important thing is establishing trust in that relationship, and that you both as you say, your boys, it doesn't necessarily have to be one person you have that relationship with. You can be a group of people that you knock around with, live with, your neighbours when you go to school. Most people I know sort of live locally, would walk to school with each other.
Hmm.
And so that relationship's about inside school and outside school, but it's about sort of getting a benefit for all of you, and making sure that you're all a part of that as well.
Yeah. So I mean, it all kind of ties in together. Really, you find a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about on the podcast ties in together with a lot of other things, but it ties in a little bit with communication. But boundaries, like, so when I was a kid, right? You know how you are with like your groups of friends. You always kind of you take the mick out of each other a little bit. You have a bit of fun, a bit of like what's the word, like locker room chat, I think is what it's kind of called, or like just boys chat.
I, I suppose I'd call it like crack,
Yeah, crack. Yeah.
crack banter. And I think boys and girls, they all have their different way of doing that. And I think you're absolutely spot on, because I think it's a case of, I think in general, in England, we kind of have a bit of a banter, and the comedy is a bit that we take the mickey out of each other. We find that quite funny, and that's good. But I think, as you said, tying with the communication of boundaries, it's no good having a laugh at the expense of somebody else that makes them feel upset,
Yeah.
makes them feel out of the group. Because my experiences are as a guy growing up that there is a line that you shouldn't cross, and it's not quite that simple. There's no sort of like line that says you can't say this and you can say that, But at the end of the day, you shouldn't be offensive. You shouldn't be discriminatory. You shouldn't make people feel like they're, you shouldn't make people feel upset, because that borders over into bullying. And
Yeah.
obviously the work we do, the work you do is all about raising awareness of bullying. And very much, if you're saying nasty things to people, and if you're making them feel out of that group or affecting their friendships with other people, that is bullying. There's no other way to describe it.
Yeah. So I mean, it ties in together, right? Because the thing is, like, there, like you're saying, there's a line between like crack and banter and borderline bullying, right? And it's about being able to, because you never really know, right? You never really know what might be offensive to one person and it isn't offensive to other people. And it's quite, especially if it's like a group of friends, it can be quite hard to kind of like toe the line between multiple people's different lines, because then it kind of gets all wavy and it's like one person's line might be further down, but one person's line might be here or here. And it's like, that's where being able to communicate clearly can be really effective, and being able to kind of set boundaries and being able to say, kind of like, oh, I don't really feel comfortable when like you say that, or when that happens, or when we do this. um and a healthy relationship in that way, it looks like when your friends are accepting of your boundaries, and that's what makes it a healthy relationship, is not that you can say them or that you can communicate with your friends. It's that your friends kind of respect them, and your relationships respect your boundaries and how you communicate with each other.
Definitely. If I was at school, I wish I had the confidence to say to someone, "Do you know what? You crossed the line there, because I'm
Hmm.
not comfortable with that. I
Yeah,
don't feel happy with that."
definitely,
And
me
and
too.
and yeah, exactly, because it doesn't mean that, humour can be, it's very personal, and we all have different kinds of humour. And you turn TV on, there'll be lots of different humour. Some humour you might not accept, you don't think is appropriate. Obviously, I think we need to be quite clear. If you're discriminating on the lines of, race, colour, creed, sexuality, these are sort of things that aren't acceptable in any way, shape, or form. I think there is, as you say, a grey line in the fact that sometimes, people do take the mickey out of each other on their appearance, which again, in most cases, won't be acceptable. But I think it's a case of establishing the confidence and the self-confidence to say, do you know what? I don't appreciate it. I don't find that funny. And, I'm friends with you, but at the same time, we're not going to be friends if you're going to treat me that way. It's about making sure you respect each other. It's about making sure you understand each other. Again, you can't control every single relationship, every single conversation you have, but at the same time, it's more about saying establishing that. And as time, your friendship changes anyway. As you get older, you're into
Hmm.
different things. Most people are in a relationship, like healthy relationship with friends, because they've got a similar interest. It may be this, they play the same sport, they go to the same school, have the same teachers, take the same class, go to the same college, all these sorts of things. So there's going to be some sort of something that ties them together. And at the same time, it's a case of, it's about having fun, having banter is part of every relationship group. But it's also about making sure that, what you're saying to each other. And I think that the important thing is that you have the confidence to say, hang on, I don't accept that. And that's what I would have loved to someone said to me. It's okay to turn and say, I don't appreciate that. I really don't appreciate it. I think it's rude. And don't want to be in a friendship group where that was happening to people, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And that's kind of the thing, right? Your relationships are about trust, like we were saying, trust, boundaries, communication, and they all work together to build a relationship. So go on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think and again, this is being an old dinosaur, as I keep frequently referring myself to as. I've, with my children, and the one's 25, one's sort of 14, comes 15, but both of my children have experienced times when they felt uncomfortable, even with good friends of theirs, because they
Hmm.
said things they didn't appreciate and made them feel bad about themselves, but they haven't said anything, and they've regretted that, because they then feel worse about themselves because they didn't say something when someone said not something that they saw as nasty, and that kind of perpetuated it all, kept it going.
Yeah.
And I think that, again, from myself, I was quite lucky, because I was quite a big guy. I didn't experience bullying in the same way that, some way that I saw other people do. But I did sort of, because I was the bigger guy, everyone took the mickey out of me because I was a bigger guy. And at the time, I wasn't that comfortable with it, but I kind of felt if I'd have said something, people would have said something about me, made it even worse. But the reality is I think, at the end of the day, if you've got that self confidence, and then you've got to be able to trust your friends. And I think also what's difficult now is social media is a big thing as well, because you've got to be able to trust people that aren't saying things about you, through social media too. And that's a change. That wasn't something that was around when I was a kid. It's probably something that you've probably experienced more than I have.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, the introduction of social media makes it all so much more difficult, and it just adds so many more extra layers onto life, really. But those are the kind of main things around healthy relationships. But like on the flip side, there's things that you should kind of be on the lookout for, and be able to what I'm trying to formulate the words that I'm looking for this. There are things that contribute towards an unhealthy relationship,
Yeah, I mean,
and
people can take advantage, can't they?
yes,
If you if someone's asking you to do something for them all the time, and not repaying the favour, if someone's telling you what you should do and
yeah,
not giving you a choice of what you should do, if and I think we kind of, we didn't really define a relationship as in, relationship as a boyfriend girlfriend, or girlfriend boyfriend. I think the important thing is that a relationship can form comes in many different ways, and in that respect, there's always the basics, as you say: trust, communication, boundaries. And people feel that they should be comfortable, and they should be liked. We all want to be liked,
hmm,
but at the same, not at the cost of doing things that you're not comfortable with yourself.
yeah,
And I think, this is where it comes back to the boundary side of things, is that, if you are in that relationship, that relationship's got to benefit you, got to benefit other people. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point of being in the relationship. If someone's expecting a lot of you, ask you to do things that you're not comfortable with, then, and making you feel uncomfortable, then that again, very much falls into a category of bullying, which is something we're trying to raise the awareness of.
yeah. Um, it's that thing you were saying. So it's like that peer pressure, right? Peer pressure it can be a big thing, and it can indicate that there's been something unhealthy in a relationship, right? If someone's peer pressuring you into doing something you don't like, um, or that steps past your own personal boundaries, then you kind of just have to be able to kind of step out of situations at some point and kind of delve into your own thoughts and be like, right, am I okay with doing this? Do I really want to, I don't know, be doing the homework and sending it to them every week, Are they ever doing homework for me and sending me the homework answers, stuff like that? It's like, is this relationship a two-way street, or is it just
Yes.
me contributing towards the relationship and other people benefiting from it?
I think one of the hardest things is that these days in relationship groups, friendship groups, I think it can be quite difficult because people feel they have to be seen a certain way,
Hmm.
wear a certain thing,
Yeah.
look and do things the same as everybody else. Otherwise, they won't be accepted into that group or into that friendship group. Um, my again, I wish I'd known that I was younger, because even as I am a dinosaur, as we said, I still wanted to look and do the same things everyone else did. But at the same time, you've got to be able to express yourself and be comfortable to do that. If people don't accept you for who you are, then maybe it's the wrong friendship group for you.
Yeah. And I think that's the one thing that you kind of need to take away from this is, if you do feel uncomfortable in your friendships or relationships, then you need to be able to do something about it, right? You need to be able to step away from them or reevaluate your relationships if they're like negatively impacting your life. And I'm not saying just, oh, this guy didn't invite me to his birthday party once because, I don't know, the letter didn't come through, it was blocked in the post, it was an accident, I'm going to drop him as my friend. That's an unhealthy relationship. No, it's not about that. It's about being able to just weigh it up, right? If you're in a really, truly unhealthy relationship, then there are other people. You can make other friends, right? You can form other relationships with nicer people, different people, people maybe not even nicer, just people who more fit you as a person, because it's not necessarily that you are friends with horrible people. It could just be that it's not your way of life, right? Maybe you just don't kind of relate, or you don't enjoy.
I think the thing is, if you have to change who you are
Yeah,
to be accepted by other people, then I think the alarm bells should start to ring there. I mean,
yeah,
we've said that about healthy relationships, and I think that we all have healthy relationships. We all have groups with friends we're comfortable with, and that can take time. And being in a friendship group, having friendship with individuals is great because it raises your self confidence, boosts your ego. You can get out and socialise and do more things, experience life, have great fun. And so it's fantastic to have friends, and that's not this. We're not having this conversation because we're saying don't have friendship groups or don't be or be like really worried about having relationships with
yeah,
other people and friendships. We're not. What we're saying is that if you're in a relationship where you feel you have to prove something to somebody, then maybe that might not be the most positive environment to be in. And I think the important thing you touched on is there are other people, but I think if you do feel uncomfortable, and I think there is a lot of pressure on people to conform, as we said.
yeah,
I do that. A lot of the bullying that I've seen in school and out of school is about people not doing a certain thing or not agreeing, and that can cause people to worry. But you've always got your parents, your teachers. If you're involved with obviously with Spiral as well, you can raise some concerns with that. Speak to other friends as well. Speak to the people you trust, and you'll probably find they've had similar experiences. Because all I can say is that you're going to meet lots of people in your life. Some of them you may get on with, some of you won't. You won't get on with everybody.
yep,
The people that you do will be friendships in for many, many years to come. So that's great. But at the same time, have the confidence and to be able to sort of speak for yourself. And again, I wish I had that confidence when I was younger, and I didn't. But with a bit of age behind me, and then maybe I kind of realised that, but. I think it is important that you take control of your friendships and again reinforce those boundaries if you can.
yep. Make sure it's a two-way street. You're both putting something in and getting something out. And that's all we really have to say. Really, just
Yeah,
be aware of it. Keep it open in your mind. And now that you've learned that healthy relationships are a thing, and that they're in your mind, now you'll be able to put it into your everyday life. Because that's the thing. When I was a kid, it wasn't even crossed my mind, right, that there could be healthy and unhealthy relationships. It wasn't really something that I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. So now that you're aware of it, just keep it in the foreground of your mind. And I think that's about it, really.
yep, that sounds good to me. Great advice, and I hope it helps someone out.
Yeah, lovely. So thanks for listening to this episode of Spirals Podcast. Make sure to give us a follow, a subscribe, a like, all of that lovely social media stuff. We're going to be posting an episode of these at least once a month, usually around the 5th, but we'll kind of see how that schedule ends up playing out. But this has been Sol and Scott on the Spiral Podcast, and we'll see you next time.
See you now. Thank you.